So, part two. And finally, movies. Righty. Now, and of course, let's take television with that as well. Righty. So, now, what the problem with films is at the moment, not only are they unfortunately helping with celebrity worship, which is part of the problem with our times and with neoliberalism and with everything that has brought us into the disaster where we are at the moment, but they are also very bad. Now, one of the arguments is, somebody who dedicated the first 30 years of his life to film, what, pretty much from the very start annoyed me was that people continuously were arguing that it's a matter of taste. I mean, if I think this is a good film, it's a good film, and so on. And you can't argue over matters of taste. It's a one of those things that you continuously hear, at least in the Finnish language. It's a favorite sentence that you can't argue over taste. Of course you can. People do continuously, but still. And I guess it spread from films to all sorts of other things. And films are not held very high as a form of art. They're more thought of as entertainment, and I think it's their own fault for being so bad. They are pretty much just entertainment, and as entertainment they of course are losing to all to computer games and other things that are actually even more entertaining, so they have to make a bigger show. So film is it's a huge PR show at the moment. And, all, trim and fancy over very little substance. American films are complete crap, or let's say United Stations, because Canadians, Mexicans, and other Americans, taking the continent, America. Let's say the United States films are crap. And European films are crap, but they are very different because Europeans have, for the longest time after the, world wars destroyed the European capability of making, big films. They've tried to label themselves as being very very, very artistic. And it's complete horse shite. Most European films are simply, just unentertaining, non-descriptive rubbish that, somebody may, try to be intellectual and find all sorts of meaning in them if they want to, but really there's not very much meaning in them. And again, the United States films are not even trying to be anything but brainless entertainment. But what, as far as, I don't know, human intelligence and our spiritual evolution goes, they are all doing unforeseen damage. You can understand what the damage is if somebody's trying to be clever like the Europeans, and they're not. But then, again, what it all does, I mean, if you look at a United States film at the moment, and all these crappy things, they've started Star Wars again and Star Trek again instead of moving on and doing something else. And I mean, they totally destroyed Star Wars. It was very good and harmless children's story, the first true original 3 films. I mean, very nice. And now they've tried to make it somehow deeper and more mature, and it's of course complete crap for people who've never grown up. But the basic, message in all these comic book films, and also, I mean, it's most of the time it's like white people with nice kitchens being threatened by mysterious forces and being very heroic and very violent, and with that defeating forces of evil. That's not the reality of the world. That's not the mindset that we would have needed for the longest time. So it's the message and the worldview and what people should be concentrating on is totally wrong, and the attitude is way too violent and way too flippant. So it's totally mindless if you connect that with the fact that you truly, genuinely, you don't have very many basic stories that you can tell. So it's pretty much intellectual bubblegum, all of it. It's the same simple storyline over and over and over again. It's like when talking about sports and, playing the same, series every year. This club winning or this player winning and breaking this and this record. And with films, it's like, making this and this much money, even though if you take into consideration how much, everything costs at the moment, how much they charge you for, going to the cinemas, it's not really surprising that you make a lot of money if the prices are so high, isn't it? And, So anyway, now about the quality. Now, yeah, it's a completely different thing if you want to say that you like this and this film. Well, yeah. But otherwise, it's like with anything else. It's like with a painting or with a book. Something is better than something else. Let's say anything. 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, it might have been a successful novel, and somebody may like it, but it's not a very good novel. It's exactly the same thing with film, okay? There are good films and bad films. It's a completely different thing whether somebody likes them or not. And it's been annoying me from the very start that people try and say that films will be somehow different, that it doesn't matter whether something is good or that something is good simply because you like it. No, that's not true. And it can't be about technical stuff either, because if you pump millions into something, if you have a Hollywood grade A production, it's going to be technically very good. Cinematography, editing, sound design is going to be good because, you pumped millions into it. Of course it's going to be technically good. That's not good enough. It's like saying, if you have a excellent writer of a novel, it's going to be technically brilliant in any case, whether it has character, story, anything. Any new ideas is a different matter. Whether it is a good book is a completely different thing. You cannot go by something simply being well made. That's nothing. Has it got something else? And again, we really don't. Films have totally digressed. At the moment, let's say take older films. Actually, great ideas were simply part of, they could be expressed in dialogue in the good old days. You could have really smart films because characters actually spoke, great ideas just offhand by one piece of dialogue. Nowadays, it takes a drama film, which is very, very, very atmospheric, but it takes the whole film to say something that in the old days could be said with one sentence, and then we could do something else. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, then you have, let's say, for example, European films that don't really say anything at all. So, again, intellectually stupid and totally and utterly repetitive of these same old stories. And not moving on. not having a new space odyssey for smarter people, not having new ideas, but simply rebooting old ones continuously and giving appreciation for stuff that, was tried earlier, and people would have wanted to do it earlier, but they were not allowed. Let's say with Batman. Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, they wanted to do darker with, after Batman Returns, and they were not allowed to. And they would have done most likely a good job. And then when Christopher Nolan does his crap, then suddenly he's a visionary because he was allowed to do something darker, which just simply, again, was stupid and totally overrated. But he's hailed as some sort of a genius. James Bond. I mean, John Glenn and Timothy Dalton, they tried to do something different with License to Kill, and they should have been allowed to continue on that path. But they were actually not rewarded. People didn't actually reward them for trying to make it darker and a bit deeper. And then suddenly you have Daniel Craig and this new James Bond, and it's supposed to be brilliant. Complete and utter crap. Jason Bourne copies. Total crap. So the dialogue about films is also completely wrong, and history is being rewritten with the help of all sorts of like the Internet Movie Database, which is pretty much just a PR branch of the film industry, instead of, for example, being totally unmovable and a neutral informational body. It's become just a PR machinery with with all sorts of stupid quizzes and riling people up for the award season, and also all this complete crap. So it's all show and no substance. But again, what does all this do? I mean, since no great ideas are being expressed, great ideas that in the good old days could be expressed with one sentence, and loads of attention being paid to simple solutions and violent solutions. Absolutely no new ideas, especially philosophical ones, being pushed. I mean, what the heck do you think it's gonna do to the overall psyche of man? I mean, violence, unimaginativeness, celebrity worship, and again, if one has to point out this one more time, the fact that you are a good actor does not yet make you a good thinker. Doesn't make your words any better than somebody else's. So again, bad advice, bad culture, love of and exhilaration of money, saying that something is good simply because it makes a lot of money. Not true. Banking has never been good, and they've made a lot of money. So again, with so many things that would need to be done, not eating meat and not using fossil fuels, and trying to get rid of believing in great pixies in the sky. I mean, how are films at the moment contributing, or have been contributing for the last blooming 30 or 40 years? How have they been contributing in the spiritual growth of man? Not at all. Same, of course, goes with TV. Perhaps one has to rant about that at some point. But anyway, movies,